Welcome to another episode of Thoughts About Trillionaire. Yeah, all right. It's always fun. So here's another week, another day, another episode of of the ugliest podcast on the verse with the best ideas. So awesome. I'm gonna figure that out one day. A nice little catchphrase. But I want to do this daily, but for now I'll just do it weekly because of feelings and stuff. And that's actually what I want to talk about. It's like how to be consistent, how to accomplish more in life with less, with all this problems people have, stuff like that. I feel like some of the biggest problems with a lot of people in regards to actually accomplishing something, especially accomplishing something huge, is that they don't often feel the same level of support, of drive, and of overall competence as a confident person will feel, or a person that's born with a certain amount of privilege or just resources available to them. There's a lot of privilege to be had for people who are born in areas or just circumstances of oppression or otherwise, disadvantage. Oftentimes that makes people more hungry and give them more of a drive to do things, what they want to do. But at the same time, for the vast majority of people, for the 99%, it's way harder to actually get something done when everybody around you is, the type of people who quite frankly, aren't likely to help you get something done, right? Like for me, my biggest problem, I feel like, for being more consistent with my podcast and achieving these lofty dreams I have, is that it's so freaking hard to be accountable for myself, right? Because I feel like I'm the only one. I have no real accountability partner. I'm the only one that is here to make sure I do the things that I want to do. And of course, everybody has their own, is responsible for their own, drive and all that stuff. Of course, there's that. At the same time, what people don't really talk about is that pretty much you can't be successful on your own, It's always a team effort. And that is lost a lot because of the personalities of leaders and successful people. The media or whoever else is out there almost always paints the successful person as a person who did it on their own, right? They came from the bottom to the top on my own. I ain't need no help. Blah blah blah. That's some utter bull shit. That's utter bull crap. This like. I was about to make a pun about utter and bull, but anyways, being successful, getting to that point, is always a team effort. It always requires a bunch of resources, a bunch of people behind you, helping you, or just being there to push you in some way or somehow. And there's just no such thing as a self-made man or somebody who got to the top completely on their own, man. It just doesn't exist, because it doesn't make sense for that to exist in this world, There are too many distractions, too many ways to fall, too many ways to procrastinate and all that, and you just need help with all that. Our own minds are not necessarily equipped for being massively successful. They're more equipped for being satisfied, for not even satisfied in the long term either, but satisfied with what we have for now, and then we feel dissatisfied, then we do something else. Our minds are kind of fickle, and from an evolutionary standpoint, it's just there to help us be satiated. But of course, satiation is not, or satience or whatever, it's not permanent. It's almost always temporary. And so most of us are just kind of like drifting from one place to another, trying to be satiated again. But I find that a lot of successful people aren't even satisfied with being satiated. They're satisfied with they want to be fulfilled. Fulfillment. I've talked about that a lot in some other podcasts and prior episodes, but essentially, fulfillment is incredibly important, because where satience is like a full stomach, after a good meal. Fulfillment is like enjoying the process of making that meal, and then knowing that you're going to make a whole bunch of meals after that too. Most people just get the meal as they see it. They just, oh, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat now. But a successful person is like, they almost like build up, the ability to. I'm not explaining this well. Probably because I'm not successful yet. Right now, I don't really consider myself successful yet, so it's hard to really explain it. But I just challenge you yourself to, just research more successful people if you're ever listening to this. And my research, as I often like look up people like Gary Vee or a whole bunch of other people, but right now it's mostly just Gary Vee or Elon Musk, stuff like that. And oftentimes people confuse these people for having been just geniuses and all that stuff, but they weren't. It's not that they're smart. Of course they're smart, especially someone like Elon Musk, but he's not just smart. He has a team around him. When he built PayPal, there's like now that the whole team turned into the PayPal mafia. It's like over 20 people that have gone on and done other stuff, and they were all together doing that thing. I'm pretty sure when he was smaller and building his own game or whatever, back when he was a kid, he didn't do that by himself either. That he had the whole support of his family. He don't talk about his brother and what his family does, but they're also very successful too. And so that family has almost surely grown up being able to support each other, if not overtly, then most definitely subtly through the through the just the presence of their the presence of their existence and the existence of their success, right? I think Elon's dad was like a engineer or high tech a high tier architecture engineer or something like that, and his mom's pretty smart too. Certain, I'm way off on that stuff, but basically, like his whole family is very, very well. Were successful as well. Not to be said that there aren't, people who come from nothing that aren't successful. Like you can have a lot of people that were successful that came from families that were dysfunctional or broken and stuff like that. But not only is it more rare, but even in that sense, they also had somebody in their corner that's always pushing them to do more. I feel like that's where I'm lacking in that aspect. I of course do have support. I have a family. I have a mom that's super supportive and my girlfriend as well. But it's a difference between being kind of like supportive and like really pushing somebody, really being there every single day, and pushing somebody to do something that is amazing, that is hard, that is crazy challenging, And unfortunately, that is not something a lot of people even know how to do, right? A lot of times it's because they're focused on their own problems or their own goals and stuff like that. And it's just hard for people to be there for somebody else in that way, Being successful, once you get to that point, you can kind of like your own success, I feel like is a motivational aspect, is a constant motivator for people around you, because they're like, oh, I know that person. I've seen that person grow. I've seen that person become successful, or I see that person work hard every single day. That motivates me. But for me personally, even though I really respect how much work my mom goes into for doing all this stuff, she often is under her own stresses and stuff like that, but taking care of her family and medical issues and all this stuff like that. And so I feel like that may have affected me in regards to how my work ethic, I guess. But not like I know I have good work ethic, but at the same time it's hard to be consistent with the project because I've never really seen that done in my life, So in the last couple of years, last couple of months especially, I've been more around people who've themselves been around more successful people or who are successful themselves, and I see like that difference, that subtle difference, and that's very important, I think, in regards to being able to achieve something greater, right? So, my idea for today is not just talking about myself or my problems or whatever. It's also in regards to, it's an actual idea I have, in which we need to have more AI tools and more, I just think there needs to be a bot. It would be freaking awesome to have a bot or an artificial intelligence tool, something that can actually push you every day to do something like greater, to do something out of the ordinary, to accomplish a goal that you have, right? Imagine having a bot that says, hey, I see you have this goal. What are you doing today to achieve it? And then the next hour, the next like couple hours or whatever, comes back and says, hey, did you meet this deadline? Or did you meet this goal? Did you meet this checkpoint, or whatever you want to call it, right? If you have more things like that out there, then it'll be way more helpful than any sort of to-do list, than any sort of need for having somebody else be there, because everybody has to be focused on their own thing. We can't always depend on somebody else to be there to push us. We have to find a way to push ourselves, and even if that means quote unquote cheating by having a bot push us, then so be it. Because when it comes down to it, the biggest, I guess, problem or limiting factor to human productivity is that there's simply not enough people to go around that knows how to support somebody into being massively successful. There always seems to be a big limit on that, because of all the stuff people are stuck with in life. They're distracted with this or distracted with that, and so even if it's your mother, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your father, whatever, your best friend, boy, all these people, they can't really help you if they themselves have never really been to that level of success, or if they themselves are too focused on their own, needs and their own struggles, right? And that's not really I don't want to say it's a problem with them. It's not. It's just the fact of life. People are stuck with their own problems and struggles, and so in order for people to succeed to that level, you have to have either somebody else almost sacrifice themselves in order to help you, or you have to have somebody else massively successful in which it motivates you, directly or indirectly. That's the biggest limiting factor right there, is that there's just not enough people around to be that for you, for me. And so having a bot, having an AI, having a tool that automates this process would be amazing. That's like one of the best use cases for automation, I think, is the ability to automate motivation, true motivation, inspiration, and thus consistency on a consistent basis. A lot of times people look at social media and they say, oh, I'm trying to motivate myself, but they're not. They're trying to live somebody else's life. You're not motivating yourself by looking at what somebody else is doing and say, oh, I wish I was there. No, that's not motivation. That's envy. That's freaking distraction. The best way to be motivated is by looking inside yourself and saying, oh, wow, I can do this. Oh, wow, I feel good doing this. And so the only way to do this outside of having somebody else do it for you or help you with that is having a bot, a tool that can kind of almost surgically help you with that. That can go into your psyche and or just prompt you from the outside and with a bunch of actually helpful notifications and help you to see where you can improve and how you can improve. And so what I want to do going forward is somehow learn to build something like that, either for myself or for others. Well, it's probably for myself first and then others. But yeah, that's my idea for today. All about productivity, about having more tools at our hands to accomplish more things. Once you get to that point, then humanity will be freaking amazing, man. Like, can't stop us. What we'll accomplish. So thanks again for listening, and bye bye.